Hello, good morning. Um, I'm on today because I kind of had a bit of not an epiphany, like I didn't learn nothing that I didn't already know. Um, that I didn't already know that I struggled with, and that it was just a real concern. Um, really amongst minorities, amongst people of color, amongst black people. Okay, it's a real concern, and that's stereotype threat. So, if you never heard of stereotype threat, basically it's this concept that because we are an oppressed group, and so many stereotypes are placed on us and sort of forced upon us, we feel a sense of anxiety and a great deal of concern about confirming those stereotypes through our behavior. For example, when they say, when it comes down to watching what you name your child as a black person. We know that we like to do creative names. We know that a lot of us are descendants of African slaves, and passed down through that is our sort of own um language as African Americans. You know that we speak what they call Ebonics. So developing our own language and being creative and improvising with words and letters, this is what we have come to make our own as we just kind of navigate this white society that we was dropped into, that we were forced to be a part of. So within that came along us being creative with our names, and they all mean something, and things like that. But we also know that there is a lot of stigma around naming your child and giving them a ghetto name, right? A lot of that stems from stereotype threat. A lot of that stems from the concern that you just another ghetto black person. And because of that, you won't get a job, which are very valid concerns. You may not get a job because of the stereotype of what a person with that type of name may do, how they may behave, what their background may be, what their intellectual level may be, their maturity level. So there's a lot of judgments made based on a name when you're black. So there's a lot of thought and concern and consideration and conversation that happens around naming your child as a member of the black community. Um, so that's stereotype threat, y'all. When you walk into a restaurant, and let's say that there's a table full of black folk and they're enjoying themselves, and maybe they get a little loud. When you feel this rage come up inside of you, when you feel, dang, why they gotta be so ghetto? Oh my God, they making us look bad. I bet these white folks up in here looking at us crazy. When you feel that, when you have those thoughts, that is the stereotype threat. We don't want to confirm the stereotypes that have been placed upon us. Also, there's a lot of internalized racism going on there as well. A lot of internalized anti-blackness is going on there as well. So all of this stems from stereotype threat. A lot of us battle stereotype threat every day. And it's not just about race, right? What I'm about to talk about today, where I realize my own sort of blind spot and my own tendency to perpetuate stereotype threat, is not about, well, it is kind of about race. With me, a lot of the time I don't separate race in a lot of things because I think that it's all connected. It's all a part of our experience. um I believe in intersectional identities. You know what I'm saying? So you got these layers. You got race, you got gender, you got age, you got socioeconomic status, you got disability, ability. So all of these are your intersecting identities. None of them are separate necessarily, but in certain ways, you may one identity may become more important than another identity in a particular setting. So if you're in a room with a group of nothing but white people, you being the black person, that part of your identity may be more like apparent in the moment, and you may be more conscious of that. But if you're the only woman in a room full of men, you being a woman may be the identity that's more apparent in the moment. So okay, I'm saying all of this to say, I just wanted to lay some foundation for where I'm about to go with this. I said all of that to say that I struggle with stereotype threat when it comes down to female women, maybe not female, but women radio hosts, women panel, people that's like on the panels and stuff like that. Women in predominantly male spaces who seem to be placeholders, seem to be just put there because they wanted that feminine energy around. Women who are there, but they don't really give me what I need. Like, I need them to kind of like say something, like speak up, like this is your opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And they just don't. So, person I'm thinking in my head is Angela Yee. And y'all, I've struggled with this with Angela. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I like The Breakfast Club. I'm an avid watcher of The Breakfast Club. And I'm drinking my coffee, y'all. And Angela just I have a very that's how I explain it. It's like it's like sometimes she's on the cusp of saying stuff and being there and being like present and visible and being like, no, Charlemagne, no, Envy. It seems like she be on the cusp, but she doesn't push enough, in my opinion. She doesn't push enough. I wish that she would. I feel like having that feminine energy there, and because I believe that we are so powerful as women, y'all, I think that we could really change the whole mode of how things tend to function on this show. And I think that Angela really could. But she plays it safe a lot of the times, in my opinion. So this is when I start coming back to stereotype threat. I think that the typical stereotype of women is that we are, especially in predominantly male spaces. So she's in the hip hop industry. So I think that the stereotype there is that she's gonna do things like the rumor report, which I personally don't like that she does the rumor report. I would rather Charlemagne or Envy do the rumor report or the catch up of the day or this is what's going on. For me personally, it's stereotypical that a woman would do the rumor report and would sit around and kind of talk about gossip, and that's just my opinion. And these are things that I'm just like, I cringe with Angela about. Because I'm just like, if I was in that position, I'd be like, hell no, I'm not doing the rumor report. Now, if that's her personal interest, if she's really that interested in like rumors and gossip, that's fine. But if they approached her with that and was like, hey, we want you to be in charge of the rumor report, I would be like, excuse me, no. Like, no. Like, I have more important things to talk about than who's sleeping with who. And it's like, so that may be my stereotype threat creeping up. And I want to be cognizant of that. That may be because I'm afraid that she's going to confirm the stereotypes that women, all we do is sit around and gossip, that we're not really all that assertive, that we're not really all that interesting or opinionated, and my thing. And yeah, so when I think about that, I'm like, yeah, I think that may be my stereotype threat. And because of that, I want to make sure that I'm always remaining compassionate for Angela and not assuming that I know what her perspective is on certain things. And, and this is how we work to combat stereotype threat. And we also have to acknowledge that there's a system that has been put in place that perpetuates these stereotypes in order for us to even be concerned about whether or not we are confirming these stereotypes or not. There had to be some sort of structure that placed them on us. So understanding that she's just doing her job, and she's just being herself, and she's doing what she's there to do in her opinion, and that I shouldn't be so harsh on her. So that's my blind spot, and that's the realization that I'm like coming to, where it's like, okay, like I got some work to do in that area. I don't have to be so critical of her. That doesn't mean that I can't be critical at all of the way she approaches certain things, but I don't have to be so critical of her based on gender, her being a woman of color, how high of an energy Charlemagne is, and me maybe wanting her to meet, kind of combat that energy in some type of way. So yeah, I just thought that I would hop on here and talk about that a little bit. Stereotype threat, ways that we can combat it, ways that we can identify it. When you notice that you're becoming enraged about something, and it's kind of like, why am I so passionate about this? It may be because you're concerned that person is a reflection of the group. And that's kind of a stereotype type thing. We are so nuanced. We shouldn't be put in a box. We shouldn't be told, if you don't act like this, then you're not X or whatever. So it's definitely something that I'm working on. And that I think that it is just a normal part of navigating this society. So this is not to place the blame on anybody. But this is to say that being self-aware and being conscious of these things allows you to build a sense of like, kind of like get your, what is it? Just like have a compass. Have some sort of guide as you just kind of like venture off into these other areas of the world and of life and within yourself. You don't feel so lost. Like, what is this about? Like, you have a sense of like, okay, I know that I tend to do X. So maybe this is me doing X again or whatever. So just a little self-disclosure on something that I'm working on. And I wonder, have y'all ever dealt with stereotype threat? Have y'all ever encountered somebody who had a really serious stereotype threat? Because some people really, really struggle with stereotype threat to the point to where it ventures off, like I said, into anti-blackness, internalized racism, to where everything they do, like, they're super like hyper vigilant about, like, oh, I don't want to use this word because maybe it doesn't make me look as intelligent, or maybe that's a word that people would consider ghetto, or and then it's like that's when it starts becoming like pathological, problematic, and that's the type of shit that you pass down to your kids, and then it continues for generations and generations. So you want the buck to stop with you. So, yeah. All right, y'all. Have a good day. Bye-bye.